Imagine a world where everyday glasses outsmart the most advanced headset on the market. Could Meta's latest moves finally dethrone Apple in hardware? What if Nvidia's massive cash injection into OpenAI creates this unbreakable loop that powers the next era of tech but leaves everyone else in the dust?
So even Microsoft, the giants that's dominated software for decades, waking up terrified that AI could wipe out everything they've built. So how do you stay ahead when the rules change overnight? So from a long time grinding in software trenches, I've seen shifts like this before, and we're going to unpack today how Meta's crushing it, Nvidia's fueling OpenAI's fire, and Microsoft sweating bullets over AI's rise.
Welcome back to the podcast. My name is McKay Thompson. I go by Meet McKay on YouTube. This is my father's startup hack, where on every Tuesday morning, we talk about all things from business, tech, entrepreneurship, finance. We kind of combine it all into one podcast. We take our kitchen table conversations and we bring them to you guys. And hey, I think we're at 10 weeks in a row. So pretty good. Not too bad.
Nice.
Sweet. All right. So there's a couple of big things that we want to talk about today. The first one being Meta had a really big product announcement. And I'm really curious because for the last few weeks, I've been talking about Meta's new product and you had kind of poo-pooed on it. But it sounds not poo-pooed on it, but you just didn't think that it was going to be as adopted as maybe some of the news is anticipating. So they obviously had their huge their smart glasses unveil on stage, and right now they currently have a set of smart glasses that are glorified cameras that you can wear on your face that are somewhat discreet, and a lot of people have really liked them. But now they came up with more of an augmented reality, meaning you can see like little bubbles come up like WhatsApp, you can see maps, and you can have little AI conversations, and you can see they have different glasses out, like the more of the athletic ones. You have your standard glasses here, and they're trying to really do what the Apple Vision Pro couldn't do. So what's your knee-jerk reaction to this new kind of AR augmented reality product?
I think like you said, I definitely have, downplayed how good this is going to be and how big this could be. I think the real big thing here that's kind of interesting is that Meta is really, they've been betting on this. They've bet on the metaverse. It's definitely shifted over time. Zuckerberg originally said, hey, everybody's going to walk around with Quest goggles strapped on their faces. They're going to go sit in meetings with them. They made all these kind of crazy, audacious statements. But I think this is the first play into something that we might actually use. I saw something that I thought was kind of interesting about this because it says, hey,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Do you want to try to refresh your browser?
Sure. All right, we'll come right back.
Sorry about that. Looks like we had some audio issues, but I want to hope he'll be right back. He's going to refresh and we'll be all set. All right, let's see. All right, you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear now.
Okay,
sweet. So basically, I tossed the ball over to you and asked you, and you started mentioning that you've been downplaying these new glasses. Take it from there.
So I think this is going to be an interesting play because Zuckerberg has been talking about strapping something to your face for a long time, and I definitely downplayed it when he was talking about it before because he was talking about people wearing VR goggles. This definitely becomes something that is much closer to something that I think could actually start to hit some mainstream. One of the big plays here that I think that is definitely a big part of this is that I think that these are getting into the price points points that people will actually pay, right? One of the big things, a lot of people talking about, how Apple missed with a lot of the tech, and we'll kind of break down a little bit more of some of the parts that I think that are wins and some of the parts that I think that are misses. But overall, I think this is an interesting play, and I think more importantly, what the underlying message here is that Mark Zuckerberg is willing to go all in on innovation. He is trying to push the line on innovation where a lot of other companies aren't. A lot of other companies, Apple, are really playing it safe to not be pushing into real heavy R&D.
Totally, yeah. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk kind of about what happened at the event. It's kind of like you can almost dub this as like the Cybertruck moment for live demos. When you have a demo, I mean, even Steve Jobs had a live demo that failed because there was too many devices on the Wi-Fi, I believe, with one of the first iPhone launches. And so let's go ahead and watch. This is about a 1.5-minute clip, and we can pause it as we go. But this is Mark Zuckerberg trying to demo the video call. And when you talk about innovate, Mark Zuckerberg is famous for saying like innovate fast and break things. This is a prime example of that, and we can kind of talk about how big of a failure this really was, and see we'll go from there. But let me go ahead, and you should be able to see my screen, and you should be able to hear it.
Yep.
Pause WhatsApp video call.
There we go. Uh-oh. Well, let's see what happened there. That's too bad. I don't know what happened. Maybe Boz can try calling me again.
So they're trying to do a WhatsApp video call to his glasses, and it's just not working. And so he's trying to, you can see kind of the little bit of embarrassment that's happening, but let's keep watching to see what happens.
All right. Well, I got a missed video call. Okay, there's the actual video call. All right. I'm just going to pick that up with my neural band. This is, it happens.
So what ended up happening is they actually triggered every AI device in the room. And so there was tons of AI devices, and other people were wearing the older versions of the glasses, and the command stayed the same. And they're kind of blaming Wi-Fi. They're kind of blaming that they didn't expect there to be there's a whole lot of blame, but I think the point is that one, you got to give them props. When was the last time somebody demoed a very heavy, device heavy AI product in live? So, I mean, partly you've got to give him props because something Apple hasn't done in a long time.
Yeah. And you could tell he's like, it happens. And when you do a live demo like that, you have to half expect that it's not going to work. You just have to plan like, okay, what if this feature doesn't work? But at first there was a lot of hot takes on Twitter about this. Let me go ahead and share, like, here's a negative one. It's like, oh no, I feel really bad for the Meta OS team. They had another, I think it's all good. This is another failed one. It just failed for an entire minute, and we weren't going to watch it. But basically, they just had a couple of features that didn't work. Right? They had a few features that didn't work, and here's a couple of reactions. You had somebody's like, oh, I feel really bad for the OS team, but then you have these two, and this ended up taking a lot more of the sentiment. You're laughing at Zuck's demo, but he innovated more than Tim Cook in the last 5 years. And then, to be fair, this is 100% accurate. So you started to see a lot more people have that take and be able to see how Meta is trying to push what is currently out there. And so, yeah, props to Mark Zuckerberg for not being afraid to go on stage and risk looking like a failed product. But I think that it ended up bringing more publicity to their product than just about anything else that could have.
Yeah. Do you want to pull up Sawyer Merritt's really quick? There's a link to Sawyer Merritt's, and this is a good concise bullet list. And so, a couple of things that are both pros and cons here. So, right, color 600 by 600 pixel resolution. That's one of the first things that people kind of nag on this a little bit, and it's a tricky thing because 600 by 600 is way higher resolution than the previous versions. I think the other ones were 480 or something, but just lower. But ultimately, at the end of the day, people who are demoing it saying 600 by 600 resolution is not going to get the job done. The 20% degree of view, the 5,000 nits of brightness is actually one of the really strong points that people said. They said even out in the sun, you can actually stare at the sun and still be able to see the image, which is actually part of the huge innovation. The 2% light leakage make it hard for other people to see there's a display. That's the other part, is that no one knows that you're seeing this. And that's one of the other things that's got a really positive. The gesture control is one of the big things too, because so they're actually strapping the thing onto your wrist, and then it can feel the motions of your hands. And so you can just have your hand even behind your back and be doing things, and it's not requiring it to be in the field of view, so that you can actually still be motioning. That's some of the things that's a pretty, that's a really cool, impressive thing. And they're saying it really works. Like all the reviews on that say that actually works really, really well. The other part too is comes with transition lenses for the brightness adjustment. I know it's one of the things I struggle with is walking around with two pairs of glasses, both regular and sunglasses. And so their innovation here list is actually pretty impressive. And so I've got to give my hats off to Meta here and say this is some good innovation.
Yeah. So the $1 million question is, if you were handed a pair of these, would you use them?
I think I would play with them. I think there would be a lot of things. I saw another review that says, hey, one of the problems with our society right now is nobody wants to be that person sitting there holding the phone. But they gave like a birthday party example, and they said, look, we're so often we video the person at the birthday party, but when we actually want to really see is everything else. Our memory wants to be who all was there at the birthday party, not me blowing out the candles. Actually, the vision, like I want to see everybody else who was at the birthday party. And so they actually demonstrated how much fun it is to see from the vision perspective, everybody else who's there.
Yeah, I keep hearing good things about these, and I think that while people are trying to detox their tech usage, this may be they may find a happy medium between that person that's not wanting the newest iPhone because they don't want more tech in their life. They're wanting more useful tech in their life without being distracted. And I wonder if this is going to be that happy medium. You can kind of see a little bit more of a bullet point list of what was covered. They unveiled their glasses, the AI glasses, and super intelligence. Do you think that the AI is going to be actually useful, or do you think that's just something that is slapped in there?
So it still requires an internet connection because they're not putting that AI in the glasses, right? And that was actually what was kind of failing in the demo, right? It still requires an internet connection. So that's got to connect to your phone, or it's going to have to get into a 3G, or 5G type of connection, which they can't fit into the glasses right now. They're cramming so much into them. So the glasses, they say, don't feel heavy, but really when you sit and look at them, they're huge and bulky. So while it's not a pair of VR goggles, it still doesn't look like a traditional pair of glasses. Like the band is like this thick over your ear. So like hop over to Hamid's really quick. I think there's another link here that kind of compares the Apple Vision Pro, Meta Quest, and the glasses. And I think this is kind of more the strategy where I think Zuckerberg is going to win. Is more around how they're comparing these to the Apple Vision Pro and why the Vision Pro failed.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, there's this. Okay, I got it. Okay. Yeah, that's really good. Okay.
So this is a really good one because, he said, hey, I just, pre-ordered a Meta 3 and a pair of Meta smart glasses, right? And so, but he said the combination of the two costs less, $2,700 less than Apple Vision Pro, right? Now, I actually know Hamid personally, and so he's a very well-to-do person. I guarantee you he doesn't care about the $3,500 from the Apple Vision Pro. But the whole point of this is like Apple's a premium brand. He's like, look, this isn't even close. And Zuck is, producing these things at such a fraction of the cost that they don't care. At the end of the day, like they don't care that it's 600 by 600 pixel resolution, right? I know that Apple Vision Pro is way higher resolution and is a premium product, but ultimately people don't care. And so I think it's about getting it to the people, right? And I think that's where Meta could win on this. Will they win totally? Is his vision totally going to win? I don't know. Jury's still out, but I think this is one of the closest plays. Now, they're still a long ways from shipping this, by the way. So that's the other thing is I did sign up to even go get a demo of this. There's no, I don't even know if they have a release date for when they're going to be releasing them.
I think it's September 30th.
Well, we'll see. I signed up to go and demo one, and the closest demo that I could get was at Best Buy in like 4 weeks.
Yep, September 30th, 2025 is when they're going to be available.
Well, we'll be interested to see, and I guess it'll be because at the time it sounded like I don't. We'll see how the results go.
There was one more question I was going to ask you. Dang it, I can't
remember. They're still huge.
Yeah. Dang it. There was one more question I was going to ask, but I totally blanked. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm a big, I think that that's what it was. So on the smart glasses, you can use WhatsApp, but I personally don't know too many people in the US that use WhatsApp for their primary communication. Apple could still win with their ecosystem. If they did nothing but copy Meta and just include iMessage and FaceTime, they could still win. So just something to consider that Apple, although they may be late to the hardware game, their ecosystem still may reign dominant.
Possibly. Apple's flirting with a little problem there too, though, because if they come out with something like that and then limit the iMessage, they're going to be forced to open iMessage. There's so much antitrust talk around Apple right now that Apple has to really walk that line.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So we covered the Meta product launch. Let me go ahead and go back.
One last article really quick here. So there's a one from Sherwood here. And I think this is kind of the final sum that I want to throw into the Meta space, because I think this is kind of an interesting one, because Zuckerberg said AI might be a bubble. And so he actually even acknowledged that AI is a bubble, but he said misspending a couple $100 billion is worth achieving super intelligence. So I think this goes to show that Zuckerberg he doesn't care, and he has the money. Facebook's been profitable for so long. He's been the drive of this. And so he's like, and this is the quote, if we end up misspending a couple $100 billion, I think this is going to be very unfortunate, obvious. He's shelling out over $600 billion US data centers. But then he goes on to say, but what I'd say is I actually think the risk is higher on the other side. So he is literally going to spend until he gets what he wants.
Yeah. And as a CEO, I give my hats off to him, because you can either play it safe like Apple, and you can let me pull something up. Let me pull something interesting up. You can play it pretty safe like Apple, and you can just keep your brand sanctity and not risk it. But you've seen Meta. Actually, let me pull this up.
While you're pulling that up here, I mean, he says the risk for a company like Meta is probably not being aggressive enough. And I think that's exactly it. And it's definitely a shot at the Apples of the world, who are quickly turning into the IBMs of old, who just innovated too slow.
Yeah. So Apple over the last 5 years, their stock it's doubled. It's up 128%, which for a $3 trillion company is still pretty remarkable. Meta has done slightly better. They've gone up 200%. So Mark has continued. You could arguably say he failed at maybe he didn't fail at the actual product. Some may say he did. More that he didn't get the right market placement for the VR world, and maybe that wasn't as big of a thing that he thought. But hey, if this is the next big thing, then it's better to die trying than to not try at all. And I think you can kind of see the reflection in the stock price. And I mean, he's had multiple failed products, and I guess you could say the Apple Vision Pro are failed products in terms of mass adoption. But the market doesn't care if you fail. They just care if you keep innovating a little bit and get better. So obviously, to a certain extent.
And so the thing about this is that, you've got Apple that has played very safe, but, been a little more linear. And then you've got Meta that has continued to grow. So this actually proves Mark's point. He actually can throw at plenty of money at this and still continue to win, right? So that's the advantage, is he's still got his cash cow that he's going to lean back on. I mean, I don't know. I saw reports that people were rushing to go get the iPhone 17. I personally don't know a single person who's gone and gotten it.
Yeah. I'm having your internet keeps coming in and out. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Do you want to refresh one more time and see if that works, and we can cover
I actually don't think it's on my side.
Oh, I don't know. Interesting.
Are
you having a hard time hearing me at all?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Let's go ahead into this next topic. It's entirely possible that it is me, but
somebody in the comments just said we both hear both of you just fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, well, that's great. Good.
Two people actually.
Good. Okay. Well, as long as people can hear you, I don't care. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the next topic here. You have this really circular money, and it's really funny because it keeps happening over and over again. And I think it just one of the easiest ways is to start off with this. It's Sam Altman saying, "I need GPUs." Jensen saying, "You know who has GPUs?" Sam says, "But I don't have the money." Jensen said, "Let's start a strategic partnership." At 9 a.m., you have Nvidia investing $100 billion into OpenAI. And then you have at 9:20, Nvidia stock goes up $100 billion. Jensen, here's my $100 billion investment. And so you have this really circular money between Oracle, between OpenAI, between Meta investing to different data centers, and everybody's just getting lots of money, and everybody's stock keeps going to all-time highs, and it's just crazy. What's your take on this circular money? Have we seen a pattern of this with the .com era? What patterns have we seen with this before?
This is literally the definition of a bubble. I mean, this is just a joke. Like, it's a joke at this point. But remember that a CEO's number one job is to sell their stock. That's a CEO, a public company's CEO's job. Number one job is to sell their stock. So if you're Sam Altman and Jensen Huang here, like, they're playing the game. I guess the ones who's dumb is all of us who keep doing it. And so I'm shocked that Wall Street's so stupid. I can't believe that the general population is buying this. Like, it's a pile of, like, none of them have that money to spend. That's the weird thing about it, is it's like, so Nvidia kind of does, because they've actually sold a commodity. They sell a thing, right? OpenAI doesn't have that cash. Like, there's no cash for OpenAI in this. OpenAI keeps saying they're making these huge promises of, well, we're going to invest into all of this. They don't have that cash. So I'm not really sure. I'm not sure where this ends is the biggest thing. Is it is totally circular, but it keeps working.
Yeah. So to kind of put into perspective how big this deal is, Morning Brew had an article saying that the NVIDIA systems OpenAI plans to build out will need at least 10 gigawatts of power. 10 gigawatts for perspective is enough to power 8 million homes, 4 to 5 million NVIDIA GPUs, equivalent to over 4 Hoover dams. So what's going to happen? Like, where's the power going to come from?
So the funny thing about this is literally is a game of musical chairs, and nobody wants to be the last person when the music stops. But the music's eventually got to stop, because I mean, now the bigger problem I'm concerned with is this at this point is propping up the entire stock market. S&P 500 is so largely bet on Microsoft, OpenAI, Nvidia, Oracle, and a lot of these, that when that hits, it's not just going to hurt like a handful of companies. It'll actually bring down a chunk of the stock market at this point. So I'm actually more concerned here. Like, if individual companies want to make these big bets and there's big plays on their stock and they crash or whatever. But like, when this happens and suddenly people's entire pensions get destroyed because the bubble bursts, and if not, there's almost a worse scenario where it keeps going. Like, if this game keeps playing, all we're doing is hyperinflation, and I don't see a positive outcome either way from a financial perspective.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's a little scary, but yeah, it's a little freaky. You say in our notes somewhere that Microsoft is also involved in the circular money. Do you want to cover that? I'm trying to find.
So Microsoft is involved in the circular money and there's been a lot of back and forth, and I haven't delved a ton into this, but Microsoft and OpenAI just renegotiated a portion of because Microsoft's such an early investor and a large early investor in OpenAI, but to this same discussion, the way that they invested was they said, hey, we'll provide you the hosting for free or a very heavily discounted price. And so it's also kind of this funny circular reasoning because they're even involved in this weird circular reason of like, hey, it raises our stock so we can spend money on OpenAI, which raises their stock so they can spend money on us. And it's that same circular reasoning that literally isn't making sense. And so it's weird to watch the incestuous relationship between Nvidia, between Microsoft, between OpenAI, between Oracle, it's like, how many more of these can we string into this mix?
Yeah, no, it's the circular money is absolutely insane, and we're not going to see the effects of it until earnings start to roll over. So what happens when Nvidia has their first rough earnings call? Is that going to be next quarter, or is that going to be in 10 quarters? It's going to be really that's when we're going to start to see the effects of this, is when people are like, all right, we have enough chips. But at the same time, how long are these GPUs good for? Are people going to need more GPUs in a year?
So that's one of the things about it is these. So in the past, Microsoft's done really well with Microsoft Azure because the data center builds out are good for 10 to 20 years, right? They're long term. You can, a piece of hosting machine you put into place can run a hosting for, at least a decade. With GPUs, it's a totally different game because it's totally a 5-year-old GPU is almost irrelevant. A 7-year-old GPU is definitely dead. And so, they're innovating that so quickly on the GPU side that I don't like. The problem with this is that nobody's really thinking about is, hey, we're going to have to build out these Hoover Dam, 4 times Hoover Dam level of infrastructure that needs to be replaced every 5 years.
Yeah. And it's going to require more power, and it's going to have to be bigger. The thing is that is interesting is on some of the stuff that I've seen where we have been using 5-year-old chips, and then you upgrade to the latest and greatest chip, you are seeing a 5x in compute power and in efficiencies. So it's like it's hard because some of the circular money is still effective. Like, people spending money does make goods or services better. Whereas where you kind of saw in the crypto market, it was largely dependent on the greater fool theory, and it was dependent on the price of Bitcoin at the time. And when Bitcoin was trading for 30 or 40,000, nobody really wanted to play with the crypto anymore. But with AI, you're starting to see things get built faster. You're starting to see things become more efficient. And so while it is circular money, you are seeing an improvement in goods and services. So that is something that I think to play the other side a little bit is helpful.
So I think where we'll see that stop is I think we're quickly seeing the point of diminishing returns. And I think this is what's happening really quickly, right? Is that, Grok 4 took 100x the computation from Grok 3, but it only got maybe 4 to 5 times better. And that's even their own numbers. And I think that's a stretch. And so like to get to Grok 6, if you have to 100x again, see, that's exponential growth on training everything to only give you, linear. So it's exponential growth on training to give you linear results, which that math won't math forever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to keep seeing. Maybe by the time next week, we'll have more circular money to talk about. But at this point, Oracle's getting in the mix, and Larry Ellison's getting to party too. How does Oracle fit in all of this between Nvidia and OpenAI? Where does Oracle fit?
I don't know. I know nobody who's saying we're running to Oracle right now. So I don't know if Oracle just has an overabundance of server infrastructure, and they figure, well, we may as well spend it somewhere, because frankly, Oracle's been one of these ones that have innovated really slowly as well.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So I want to cover this, and then we can wrap up here. But Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella is concerned that AI is going to destroy his entire company. He said he's facing immense pressure to stay relevant during the ongoing AI race. This seems like a stretch. It seems like Microsoft is doing fairly well. While making major reductions in headcount, the company is committed to multi-billion-dollar investments in AI, a major shift in priorities that could make it vulnerable. This seems kind of like a doomy article.
It is, but
town hall last week, the CEO said that he was haunted by the story of the Digital Equipment Corporation, a computer company in the early 1970s that swiftly made that was swiftly made obsolete by the likes of IBM after it made significant strategic errors.
So here's the problem. The biggest problem right now is that morale of Microsoft is really down, and Microsoft has prided themselves in morale and employee retention, and right now they are thrashing through people faster than they can because of this pressure to build on AI. And so because of that pressure that he's feeling, he's having to make two different decisions, and one he knows is destroying the company, and he's telling everybody there, and I think there's an apologetic term, and you have to read into what's going on here, where he made these comments is because he carrying this apologetic term as he's trying to retain talent, and talent right now is really important, right? There's only a subset of people who understand how AI works, who actually know how to build it. There's not a lot of people out there, and so he knows, and he's trying to keep those people in the house. We've seen this with Meta, we've seen this with a lot of people. He's trying to keep people to keep building the next generation, while still right now Wall Street only rewards if you lay people off.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of people mass hiring right now.
Nope.
Just spend more.
Yeah, spend more on hardware, and that's exactly the struggle. It's exactly what he's talking about. Look, I'm under pressure to spend more on hardware, so I have to lay a bunch of people off to spend more on hardware. But the problem that he sees there is, I think these executives, because he's even talked about it, that kind of behind closed doors, they all know AI is not as good as the market is hyping it to be.
Yeah, it's scary to think what could happen, and yeah, there's really nobody knows. It's just kind of how long is the music going to stay on for. But if the economy can stay strong, then I don't know. It's going to be very fascinating to see what happens.
So the last part is, he said, you can feel his anxiety as the tech industry's history has shown the winners will score big while the losers like DEC become nothing more than a footnote, right?
Yeah.
So Microsoft has made the right plays throughout the time, but that's always been where they've valued their employees. And he is recognizing that the tone that they are setting right now is not valuing their employee. Morale is at an all-time low inside of Microsoft.
And I think you can kind of hear a similar tone with Mark Zuckerberg, and it's like, hey, we're gonna play, we're gonna go to bat, and we're gonna spend money to see if this is something that we can continue to build on. But I'd rather die spending money than missing out. And you can kind of see the opposite from Apple, where their product launch went good, nothing will happen. They have a little bit higher demand for their iPhone, their thin iPhone than anticipated, so they had to increase production. And so you have two companies here. You have companies that are just like, we're terrified, but we're going to keep going. And then you have Apple, it's kind of just like, we're just going to keep doing our thing. And so, I mean, what's your take on the contrast between Microsoft's crippling anxiety and Apple's, on the outside at least, what looks like stability?
Yeah, it's an interesting play because basically everybody's betting on the quadratic, right? Everybody's betting on the hockey stick, trying to be the ones to get AI. Whereas Apple's like, we're going to ignore this AI thing, right? There was almost no mention of Apple Intelligence at the last, keynote. And so, but they're like, we're just going to keep doing our thing, which is continuing to work for us. And actually, it kind of has. They aren't really betting on it. So we've talked a lot about Zuckerberg, who's like, I'm all in on the super intelligence, right? Because if I spend 60 billion years, who cares? Because if I win big. Yeah. Whereas you've got the Apple that's like, we're just going to stay away from the poker table right now and keep investing in our 5% return.
Yeah. It's two different strategies, serves two different purposes, but this was a fascinating week in tech nonetheless. You had innovation, you had more hundreds of billions of dollars being spent. You have more questions than answers with how good is this AI stuff really, and where is this money really going to come from? So nonetheless, a fascinating week in tech. We appreciate you guys watching. Come every Tuesday morning where Spencer and I, Startup Hack, and I talk all things tech, entrepreneurship, finance, and try to make sense of this AI conundrum that we have going on. But Spencer, where can people go to find you and learn more about you?
So if you're interested in building some custom software, especially around AI, check out startuphack.com/Spencer. Or just if you like the material, come every week or come every, we're here. I post 6 times a week.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below with your favorite part, where you agree with us, where you disagree with us. We love a good debate. So thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.